I'm going to be talking about trademarks and his life. It's an amazing life.
Building an international team of attorneys.
But just doing things in a different way.
Business is, yes, it's interactions with money and technology and all that, but at the end of the day, it's a person-to-person conversation.
Hi, I'm here with Pablo Seguera, and I'm going to be talking about trademarks and his life. It's an amazing life about how he became a trademark attorney. So I want to, first maybe introduce yourself, Pablo.
Yeah, sure. Pablo Seguera, obviously trademark attorney with Trademarkia. I'm also a retired police officer. I was a police officer in New York City for 13 years. Kind of left behind law enforcement and got into another form of law, right?
Yeah.
Worked a lot in the emerging technology space. It was like my first kind of couple of gigs as an attorney, and then I really fell in love with the IP side of things, and I haven't left it since.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So let's talk about you. So where did you grow up?
Yeah. Born and raised in the Bronx, New York, to Puerto Rican parents. Both my parents are from Puerto Rico.
Okay. So you speak Spanish? Or?
Yeah, fluently. Puedo hablar español sin problema. Fluently. Grew up there in New York. Went to school there. Went to high school, college. I'm a New Yorker. Right? You can tell from my accent, right? Started there, and then I really got into law enforcement at 21 years old.
Why did you become a police officer? What made you do that?
It is going to sound horrible, but because of my mom. My mom is my role model.
Okay.
There was a time in my life where I was not very focused. I wanted to do other things, and she kind of saw my life was heading in the direction she didn't want it to go into. So she sat down with me. She said, "Look, I love you. We need to find you a career." And this was at the time frame that it was a couple of years after 9/11.
Okay.
So what happened was that the New York City Police Department was refilling.
Okay.
Right. They were backfilling their ranks because we lost a lot of police officers to 9/11 related diseases and retirements.
Right.
And as a result of that, there was a large openings in the department. So she said, "Look, give it 6 months." I didn't want to be a cop. She said, "Give it 6 months and we'll make the deal. If in 6 months it doesn't work for you, we'll find you something else."
Okay.
And I fell in love with it because I get to solve problems daily on a daily.
Did you do that after going to college, or did you do that? What did you do when you were 18?
I left college early.
That's
So
cool.
I was going through halfway through college. I was not doing well in college at the time.
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I was going to Lehman College in the Bronx, and then I eventually graduated from John Jay College.
Okay, yeah.
For criminal justice. And
So you're going to college, it's like you're going to do something else.
yeah, I was not into my studies. I was barely going to class. I was not doing what I was supposed to. But the thing was that I actually had a year before that, I had a short stint with the New York City Housing Authority in the New York City. And my job was emergency services. So I was 19, 18, and I was basically answering your problems when the regular shift was out. So if you had a flood at 2 in the morning, I was 18 years old and I had to sit there and help out to fill out the flood. But it was such a virtuous job that I fell in love with that aspect to it, where my job was to solve your problems and to help people at any time of the day. And so I always had that in the back of my head, like, this is the type of way I want to live my life and the job that I want to follow through.
Right.
So
Service, like a
service.
Yeah.
Yeah. My entire family. My mother was former deputy mayor in New York. My father was a public school teacher. He was a Vietnam veteran. He became an assistant principal, jazz musician. So it was a lot of like service and creativity growing up. I used to wake up. My father's used to play Latin jazz concerts every day in my house, right? So creativity and civil service and technology has all kind of been in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you became a police officer, 6 months, but you stuck it through.
Yeah. And I loved it. I did it for 13 years.
What was the roles as a police officer?
Yeah, I had a lot of them. I did a lot of patrol, which is basically just answering the radio, right? That's what you do. But I was working in Washington Heights. And in Washington Heights, we were #1 in the city at numerous times for the most what's called radio runs, which is the amount of time people call 911.
Okay.
So I think my record one day was like 150, 160 jobs in an 8-hour span.
Oh, man.
Right. So you learn discipline at an early age, but you also learn how to manage such large influx of people in very high stressful situations. So here I am, 21 years old with a gun in my hip, trying to figure out my life, right? Helping other people out. So I learned a lot from it.
That's great. What did you learn? What did you learn?
I learned that when you meet people, you have to just speak to them on a more human level, because at the end of the day, and I've applied that to business later on in my life, where business is, you're dealing with people every day. Yes, there's interactions and money and technology and all that. But at the end of the day, it's a person-to-person conversation. So how do you cut through all of that and just meet with the person first? Right. And I did that for such a long time. in a very emergency, stressful situation, that doing this now in business is pretty easy to me because, nobody's going to punch me in the face. It's a different environment. So
You had to write police reports and kind of.
yeah, I did patrol where it was basically we were answering everything from domestic violence calls to car accidents to shootings to burglary. And then I got into various units throughout the precinct. For a long stint, I was part of the burglary team where we had to investigate every single burglary in Washington Heights. It was on us.
Yeah.
And so I did that for some time. I worked with what's called the conditions team that basically at that time when marijuana was illegal,
Yeah.
we were the ones that would go and, deal with the drug dealers and clean up the streets and all that type of stuff. So we did that for a long time too. So I had various roles. I worked in the housing section of Washington Heights as well, where a good example is that we used to have what's called the Rucker basketball games, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
a big deal in New York. We had Kobe Bryant was at the courts that I worked at, right? So we had to deal with also a small team of 4 to 6 people, and we had 3,000 people at these games. And how do you just manage that chaos?
So you learn to talk to people on a human level.
Very
Even though
much
you've
so.
got a uniform, people looking
Yeah.
up to that.
Yeah.
And you've carried that through to law.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think it helped me a lot because I also grew up not far from there.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was not something foreign to me. It was, I understand you because I'm
Yeah.
from, we may be related, I understand your partner well too, right? So that's also another layer to policing. But then it helped me to just carry that through because now I talk to business owners every day
Yeah.
and I want to just understand. I always kind of start every conversation with, well, tell me about your business.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with law. It's just, tell me about your business.
get to
Where,
know,
get to know you. Where are we going? What are you doing? And then that could kind of help me figure out as we have the conversation, well, this is what you want to protect now, and this is what you want to protect in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're a police officer, did you deal with the court system or law? Did you go testify or?
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of testifying in the courts. My last year and a half on the police department, I was actually working in Manhattan Central Courts.
Okay.
So I was working downtown. I went to law school when I was my last years as a police officer.
How'd you finish your undergrad? Because you said
Yeah.
you left, right?
I left early. I finished the police department, and then I was going to school while I was working full time in the daytime.
Huh?
John Jay College, which is a CUNY
That's a
system.
police officer. So you're working as a police officer?
I was
Man,
as a police officer in the
finish
street.
your bachelor.
Yeah, in the street, running
Oh,
around.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
What made you want to get a bachelor's degree? Because a lot of cops don't want to do that, right?
Again, it's gonna sound horrible, but taking it back to my mother. I can't. My father here has he had 2 Ivy League degrees.
Okay,
Right.
wow.
My mom has a 1 Ivy League degree, and she's an attorney as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't have a bachelor's. I had to follow up with that.
Okay.
So luckily, which is accessibility is a big thing for me too,
Yeah.
right? The CUNY system has a program for police officers, CUNY John Jay College, right?
Yeah.
Where they give you 36 credits for the police academy.
Okay, nice.
So I was able to apply those credits
Nice.
in my bachelor's,
Okay.
and then they have another program they give you up to, I think it's 36 or 33 credits for free as a police officer
Nice.
taking courses. So without that, I would have never graduated.
That's amazing. That's awesome you did that.
Yeah,
And if you had to tell some police officers today, what would you tell them? What would you tell them to do?
I would say that when
We're interested in law.
you're building life skills, right?
Yeah.
And the discipline that I learned as a police officer 21, 22, I apply it today with Trademarkia because I'm working from home
Yeah.
and there's nobody in my house making sure I'm doing my work, right? So I have to get up on my own. I have to be able to set that discipline and say, these are the hours I'm working. This is the work I'm going to put in. This is how I'm going to finish it. So applying that discipline, it applies to really various parts of your life. And I
Right.
think that also building in that career when you retire, a lot of us police officers have an issue with identity where we're a police officer and that's it. And we can't get past it,
Yeah.
right? But I think that school
Yeah.
allows you to be able to, your education allows you to be around a group of people that are not police officers. And you realize there's other jobs out there. There's other people out there, right? And then it helps you to get that identity when you retire to say, I was a police officer, not that I still am a police officer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was something very difficult for me to get through the first couple of years because my identity was so attached to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it was a part of my life, not that it is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you decide to go to law school then?
Oh man, I had an interesting personal situation happen
Yeah.
and I was not very well protected, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
right? And so from that situation, I felt lost. I felt like I'm giving my career, I'm giving my life to the street, right?
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't receive that protection back.
Right. Yeah.
So I got really so angry that I went to law school. And I said, I'm like, I'm going to make sure whoever I represent, at that point, I wanted to be like a civil rights attorney because of that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to make sure that whoever I represent does not feel this way, the way that I felt hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, how was law school? How was going through law school for you?
It was difficult
Yeah.
because I was working full time in the daytime. So this was my schedule from Monday to Thursday.
Yeah.
I get up at 5:30 to get to work at 7, to go to work from 7 to 3:30, to go to the gym, to take a shower, to change, to go to class from 6 to 10.
Wow.
Right.
That is a lot of
For
self-discipline.
3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Fridays and Saturdays doing homework, catching up, so it was very difficult and stressful, but anybody that wants to go through that, it's worth it because I'm on the back end of it, and I'm so happy I did it.
And that's so great. It's so good. So like, tell me, so as to going through that, how did you stay motivated? Like, 'cause
Yeah.
a lot of people give up, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is that I like to finish what I start,
Yeah.
and I feel like me putting all this work in, I'm gonna let so many people down because, my family, we have like kind of like an immigrant story. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican, and my family left Puerto Rico in the 50s.
Yeah.
And although we're not technically immigrants,
Yeah.
my family didn't speak English.
Yeah.
Right. So the opportunities that my grandparents came here to give us,
Yeah. Yeah.
my parents fulfilled it, and then I'm able to fulfill it. So I always keep that in the back of my head where it's like, I can't let my grandmother down.
Right. Right.
know,
No, for sure.
That just doesn't. So it's very personal for me. And a lot of the motivation is my family, because I do feel that I grew up in a time in New York in the 80s and 90s where it was extremely dangerous.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And without my family giving me the love at home and giving me a plate of food,
Yeah.
it would have been very difficult. I don't know where I would have been.
What do you say to people who don't have that same good fortune of a
Yeah.
good family
Yeah.
background, the sex circle, to support them?
I think it's
How do they get motivated?
I think you have to just get up every day and take it step by step, because you're going to face motivation. For me, it's not one singular thing. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I've been through all of these items before in my life.
Yeah.
And so whatever you throw at me now,
Yeah.
I'm going to just face it. I'm going to get through it. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nothing kind of frazzles me anymore, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that doesn't happen. But you have to get through the first couple of steps of those difficult situations
Yeah.
to get on the back end of it.
And being a cop, you get to see some of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You see a lot, and you see people in their worst moments, unfortunately,
yeah.
right? So the thing is that, like, getting through, it's worth it. It's worth fighting to getting through those first couple of steps that maybe you don't have that support system. But once you get through it, you realize it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And you get on the other end, you're gonna have some horrible moments. You're gonna fail a lot, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
part of it. But once you kind of get through that initial reaction of failure,
Yeah.
you really get on the other side of it, and okay, I can deal with this. I'm alive. I can breathe. I'm
Yeah.
good, right? And you get back to it, back to work.
How did you go from being one of a civil rights lawyer
Yeah.
to then doing IP?
Yeah, yeah.
How did that happen?
I saw so it I don't interesting enough, I don't see a lot of a difference.
Okay.
I don't. And the reason I say that is because starting a business, right? It's everything you're putting into this business. Your money,
Yeah.
your livelihood, you're leaving people behind, your family, you're leaving your time for. So I take that as a serious matter, where it's something that some of these businesses, it's your entire life savings, right? So I always treat every client in that manner of not taking it for granted, understanding whatever product, whatever you create into this company, I'm going to take it extremely seriously, because you're putting the time into it. You're putting your money into it to talk to me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see it, obviously, life and death are very different situations, of course,
Yeah.
and natural rights and human rights are different. But I think when it comes to business aspect, this is your livelihood. This is what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Support your
I take
family.
that extremely seriously to support your family. I'm going to help you however I
Yeah,
can.
it's good.
Yeah.
And so, how do you like being an IP attorney?
I get to have conversations with business owners and creatives, and I get to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Which is, as I've gotten older, it's a skill set that I've learned to do very well, and something that I love to do.
Right. Yeah.
So when I see these people, when I see business owners and creatives, a lot of them have similar issues. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I have a problem. I created a product
Yeah.
and I don't know how to protect it. I created a piece of artwork and I
Yeah.
don't know how to protect it. And that's where I can come in and give you different solutions and different ways to solve those problems,
Yeah,
right? So I really do enjoy it a lot because of the fact that I get to have consistent conversations with business owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through Trademarkia, what kind of clients do you work with?
Oh, well, I've had, the interesting enough is that working with Trademarkia now, I've been able to expand globally in terms of, now I have clients as far as Asia, France, South Africa, Latin America,
Yeah.
where before I didn't have that much of an access to the global network before, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's helped me a lot to understand the global importance of being an attorney, because I
Yeah.
think that today's day and age, if you're not an attorney thinking globally, you're going to get left behind.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you see that happen? So where is this profession going in the next few years?
I think that we're going to have to improve in the systems that we have created from the past. I always say that we're basically dealing with intellectual property laws for digital creations with laws that did not have digital understandings as part of it, right? So like we're dealing with digital creations, the laws of it, before the word digital existed,
Yeah.
right? In the way that we know it. So I think that from the legal aspect, as far as the government, as far as the laws themselves go, I think they need to expand and change and understand that. And I think attorneys, we need to help the government to understand that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of holes in that when it comes to that. But I do think that trademark law is a way to be able to expand those protections, where I feel that copyright law, not so much.
Yeah.
So I think that in order for the IP industry to expand on this, we need to also offer more ways to protect the digital footprint of
Yeah.
creators and
And
businesses.
you've been involved in crypto and other things too, right?
Yes, my first legal job, like for my career, was basically trying to figure out how do we get Muhammad Ali's intellectual property rights on the blockchain through a licensing agreement
That's great.
at a time when nobody knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And so we were able to actually set out a licensing agreement, and we were able to sign up to, I think it was about 45 athletes
Oh, nice.
in the same contract that I
Oh,
created.
cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So the crypto industry also too, I feel where it's a very polarized industry,
Yeah.
where you either extremely love crypto or you extremely hate crypto.
Right.
I'm in the middle, where I think there's tons of opportunities to expand in the industries and improve our daily way of
What
life.
kind of clients do you like working with the best?
Um, I would have to say that it's the ones that are not necessarily 0 to 1, which I do and love. I love those conversations, but maybe like 1 to 2,
Right.
where now at this point in my career, where it's, I have a company established, we have a couple of products out, but now we're doing our big product launch
Yeah. Yeah.
for 5 to 10 products.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can we strategically figure that out throughout the globe?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, because it gives me a better understanding of, well, I got to call some other people in Trademarkia. How do we protect this in South Africa? And how do we do this in Spain? Because I don't know that yet, right? So that's why I'm working with other attorneys to solve those issues in other countries, but then also in the United States handling that. So those are my favorite clients.
So you've got a pretty good social media following too, is it?
Some a little bit.
And why'd you do that? Why'd you get into that? How did that?
I do feel that social media, it's another polarizing thing, right?
Yeah,
It's either you love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
But for me, social media has always gotten me into the rooms, even into other continents that I had never stepped into before because of social media. We came to INTA today,
Yeah.
and 5 different attorneys I'd never met in my life called me as I'm walking past them. Pablo, I know you because of my LinkedIn, because of my Instagram, because of my website, because of my social media presence. And I feel that that's an opportunity that you can get into so many rooms,
Right.
never leaving your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I steal that opportunity. And I think that you have to also lead by authenticity when you do that, because especially in today's day and age, people see past, right? If you're being fake and not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I try to remain as authentic as possible with my social media presence, so people trust me and they know that I'm not lying to you. This is who I am.
And,
Yeah.
and you basically, you've also solved life. You stay in shape. You're living where you want in the home. So tell you talk about all those things.
Family.
Yeah.
I dedicate that to my family.
That's good.
It takes say what is it takes a village, right? I'm still being raised by realists. I'm still getting there, so I'm trying my best.
What advice would you give to a new entrepreneur today
Yeah.
that's trying to start out and try to make something?
So from what I've seen the past, let's say 5 to 7 years, right? VCs that if you want to get venture capital injected into your company,
Yeah.
there was a standpoint where they could justify having a team of 10,
Right.
right? You could say, I need a team of 10, so I need this amount of money to pay this team of 10 to get all these developers, to get my marketing, to get everything done. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think now it's all you need is a team of 3 and a lot of really good AI.
Yeah.
A really good developer, a CEO, a COO, right?
The
That's
barriers
it.
to entry are less.
The barrier entries are less. The accessibility is through the roof now. I've done so much stuff with AI on my own,
Yeah.
and I think that entrepreneurs really need to understand how to incorporate AI into their companies to make these systems they have run faster and more efficient.
Right.
So I would definitely say incorporate tech as much as you can with AI, and don't stop developing. Just push
Yeah.
barriers. Why
Oh,
not?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing your inspiring story with us.
appreciate
I
that.
appreciate it.
Much
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much.
joining us, too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Protect your brand with Trademarkia. Register your trademark on trademarkia.com.